Good morning. My name is Melissa Lai. I'm a newcomer, and just 1 week ago, I received my citizenship certificate at the Scarborough Civic Center. Today, I would like to raise my concerns on recreation services and recreation system. I believe each individual should have the right to use recreation services to stay healthy and be engaged members of their communities. No matter how old we are, how we commute, how much income we make, how well we speak English, or which cultural background are we from. This is especially so for newcomers who are struggling through their settling process in a new country. But in my neighborhood, all we have is an arena. It's true that kids love it, but most adults or seniors who were not born in Canada don't make use of it at all, because it doesn't meet our needs. There is no community space where we can find gyms, indoor pools, or meeting rooms. Available recreation programs exist far less than the needs of the increasing population. 3 years ago, when I arrived at the Civic Center at around 6 a.m. to register, there were more than 500 people who were already waiting in line. When my number was called, I was told my daughter's swimming and skating classes were all full. When the online registration method was introduced, we instead had to spend double time on the login page because of the limited website capacity. Regardless of the way we register, we must wait for a long time, and the space is always very limited in some programs. Another issue is that some community centers are not welcoming. Recently, I visited a particular community center. The center was dirty, dark, quiet, and there was no staff on the first floor. My 5-year-old son said it was like a haunted house. The staff was unfriendly. I can't imagine how sad and disappointed newcomers who are totally new and might have language or cultural barriers would feel if they had experienced such a scary and unwelcoming building. I urge you, my honorable city councilors, to gain a deeper understanding of newcomers and immigrants' needs before you invest or cut on recreation services, and ensure there are accessible, welcoming, culture-specific, and age-relevant programs and facilities in each neighborhood. I want to be an engaged resident in my new home of Canada. Please make new investment to expand new creation services in 2013.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Doucette.
When you're trying to sign up for children's programs, would you think it's better to start at 8 o'clock in the morning rather than at 7 o'clock in the morning?
But I tried, but normally within half an hour for most of the skating and swimming classes in North York and Scarborough, actually they are gone. So I had to start at 7 and just keep on click.
So popular programs really are filling up far too fast and we don't have enough of a demand. Is that basically it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you. William Davis.
Thank you for hearing this deputation. I'm speaking on behalf of the Moore Park Lawn Bowling Club. I want to remind the Budget Committee that it has before it a referral from Parks and Environment. Happily, the motion of referral was made by Councillor Pasternak, so I'm hoping we have someone who's experienced the deputations from a large number of people. Essentially, the motion came to Council. It was to cancel permit fees for lawn bowling on the grounds that an earlier motion of Council had canceled permit fees for youth and children's activities in the parks. So it's essentially an equity question. We're dealing with seniors who can enjoy some outdoor recreation. Parks and Environment had a background paper setting out, I think, a fairly persuasive argument. It didn't get to Parks and Environment until September 14th, just a bit of a long delay. And after the deputations were over, Councillor Pasternak moved referral. Then Councillor McMahon moved to establish a lawn bowling advisory committee. The effect of the deferral essentially is to sort of punt the relief from 2012 into 2013. And the consequence, I guess, has been pretty severe for a lot of clubs. One of them has folded. In our particular situation, we had to deal with a swing of $6,000, a $3,000 permit fee, and a $3,000 grant that disappeared. And for a small club, that's an awful kick in 1 year. So we drew down our reserve, our operating reserves, and for 2013, we hope we can get relief from those permit fees. As far as the motion to establish a lawn bowling advisory committee, I can tell you that 3 months after the motion, there is no active committee. The chair assigned the responsibility is changing jobs. So there will be no useful input from that into the budget process. So I want to conclude the main point. It's not just a question of is a 3% increase in permit fees what we need to do. The question starts, I think, with the referral from Parks and Environment to redress the inequity that exists. And so I hope the Budget Committee can start looking at permit fees for lawn bowling clubs from that base rather than just the 3%. I've got a much longer submission, and I will turn it into the clerk, but I'm trying to stay in 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Councillor Wong Tam.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for coming out to Depute the number of times that you have on the same issue. With respect to the number of clubs in the city, can you give us a sense of how many there are?
If I had my handbook with me, I could.
Okay.
I think there's a distinction between clubs. In a sense, there's a lot of smaller clubs, and it's all historic. I mean, in the city, there's an amalgamation. So we've got large clubs with different models, different sizes of membership, and we've got smaller clubs. They all had differing circumstances in terms of who did what. In some places, the parks maintained them, and in some places, the members maintained them.
Would you mind if I ask you another question?
You won't have time, Councillor.
Yes, very quickly. Will your club be open in 2013 if we don't waive the fees?
We'll start. I hope we're doing all kinds of things to increase revenue and to increase membership. And some of them are successful. I'm meeting this afternoon with Sprint Canada to see if we can bring some seniors programs onto the green. I think if the permit fee is $3,000, we're done this year, but we're not going to give up easily.
Councillor Doucette.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I didn't hear which club you're from.
Moore Park.
Right. And how many members do you have?
26.
And what?
That's more than we had last year, and next year will be more again.
And what's your membership fee?
$100.
Wow. So you lost your grant, you were given a $3,000 increase in fees, and 26 people have to find that money.
Well, we run programs for high schools, and we make some charges there. You might bear in mind, we pay for cutting the grass.
Right.
That costs a lot.
Are you aware I lost a bowling club in my ward because they couldn't find the $3,000?
At North Toronto?
No, that one is Humberside.
Well, I should talk to them, see if we can get some smaller bowls.
Someone else already got dibs on them, but thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Councillor Parker.
Thanks for your presentation this morning. From the Moore Park Lawn Bowling Club, how far is it to the next neighbouring lawn bowling club?
probably that's in your ward. The nearest one would be Leaside. The culture of the two clubs is substantially different. I think if we were to close, any of us who continued might find our way up to Lawrence Park, which has a different sort of a... But it's... my hunch is if it closed, the majority wouldn't go anywhere. That's...
Their commitment to lawn bowling is that great?
Well, there is a certain ambience and a certain sense of community, which people choose where they go. We've had people go to Lawrence Park, not Lawrence Park. We've had people actually transfer to Leaside, and we've had 3 people transfer from Leaside, and they're nice folk. But I'm not sure that's just funneling everything to the large clubs doesn't benefit the large clubs significantly, and it does cut off a recreation that matters a lot to some local people.
Thank you, sir. Our next delegate is, Councillor Pasternak.
No, thank you, and thanks again for coming in. This working group, we were on the logic at Parks and Environment was we would get advice from it. Is there any way to get that going in the coming weeks so that we can make a recommendation?
I phoned the manager who's responsible for putting together the advisory group, and he said that the 3 months have come and gone, and he has got some ideas, but he's changing his job shortly. And when he got it to a point of actually doing something, he would advise the people who made deputations, and we'd have an opportunity to have input. And I know our people would be excited to be there, but we don't. It's not our initiative. We can't.
Well, if you could offline, I'll come and see if you can give me his name. That would be appreciated. Now, membership recruitment.
Councillor, your time's up.
You're kidding.
Time's up, I'm sorry.
Well, I appreciate the little extension I got.
Okay. Emma Saltmarsh? Or is it Marche?
My name is Emma Saltmarsh. I am a resident of Ward 19 in the city of Toronto. Thank you to all of the councillors for listening and being present during this deputation. I come here today to speak to you as a healthcare provider, a researcher, and also from my own lived experience of supporting my father through a period of homelessness and poverty from November 2010 until his death on March 17th of last year. I'm here to ask that you reverse the proposed $56 million in cuts to shelter support and housing, and instead vote to invest at least this amount back into shelter support and housing in the 2013 City of Toronto budget. My dad loved this city. He was a 365-day-a-year cyclist, a user of libraries, a lover of parks, and a supporter of city-based arts programs and projects. Following a series of personal and professional losses in 2010, Dad became a recipient of Ontario Works, could no longer afford market rent, and in November he transitioned into utilizing both community and municipal shelters. In December of 2010, he was diagnosed with cancer. Once he qualified for ODSP, we began searching tirelessly for an affordable apartment, although we learned very quickly that this amount was still insufficient to secure any place livable. As I'm sure you can imagine, this was an incredibly challenging experience for all of us. I was living in Hamilton as a graduate student at the time, and spending every day here in Toronto watching him become increasingly wary from the combination of fatigue, very, very poor shelter conditions, freezing temperatures, and an uncertain future. We spent our days mostly in the library together, searching and advocating together to find him a safe place to live. In March of last year, Dad became a surgical candidate, and the surgeon had very high hopes for his recovery. As he awaited surgery, we were informed by the hospital social worker that there was a chance he could get onto a priority shortlist for affordable housing due to his terminal illness. Since the start of this whole ordeal, I had not seen him look so excited. He told us that he couldn't wait to cook us dinner as a thank you for all we had done for him. 3 days later, 2 days following his surgery, Dad died, and we never did find out if he made it onto that list. And here we are today. To learn of the $72 million in federal and provincial cuts to housing and homelessness supports in October was very difficult, to be sure. But to learn that my dad's city, this city, has again responded by proposing more cuts to shelter support and housing in the 2013 budget made me feel physically ill. Of greatest concern, the budget for new affordable housing has been cut in half. This translates into 30,000 households facing potential eviction, while a growing list of somewhere in the neighborhood of 160,000 people will wait even longer for their chance for safe, clean, affordable housing. And I wonder how many more people will die waiting for their chance to have a home. In both of my professional roles, I have spent extensive time exploring the relationship between social equity and health. Sadly, our story reflects the strong body of research evidence that illustrates clearly that people who are homeless or precariously housed have higher rates of illness and mortality. This is a health crisis that places huge financial burden on our healthcare system and, more importantly, affects the social and economic health of our city. So what can you do? Your role in the future, as the ambassadors of our city and the voices of our people, will be to demand to the provincial and federal governments that they invest meaningfully and responsibly in affordable housing and in eliminating homelessness. Your role today is to listen to these people here and show our hundreds of thousands of neighbors and family members living in poverty and without a safe, secure place to call home
Please.
that you care about the health of our city. I declare my support for an increase in municipal property taxes sufficient to ensure our communities are responsibly invested in, and the vehicle registration tax.
Thank you. Councillor Perks wants to clarify something.
Did you provide a copy of that to the city clerk?
I didn't.
Could you do that so that it gets circulated to us?
Sure, I made some edits.
That's fine.
Can I send it later?
Sure.
Anyone else? I just have one question. Are you aware that there is no net cut to Toronto Community Housing Corp?
I know it wasn't Toronto Community Housing that I was involved with.
The 56 million, that's the number that deals with TCHC.
Oh.
So
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what that 56
I'll
million is talking
review.
about.
I know there was some changes made in the last couple of days. I'll review it again.
Okay.
I do know there was a substantial cut to affordable housing, and new specifically, I think it was 24 million that the City of Toronto proposed to the construction of new affordable housing.
Councillor Milchin.
Just to Councillor Dogrand's point, the 56 million you're referring to, 55 million of that is that it's a paper cut, so to speak, because instead of paying property taxes.
I'm sorry, I'm not referring to the TCHC.
No,
I'm
but
talking
it's-
about the construction of new affordable
Yeah,
housing.
but,
Is it 24 million?
But in this budget, when you see a $56 million cut, 55 million of that, are you aware, is really that we stopped having TCHC pay property taxes to the city, and then the subsidy that we gave back to TCHC got cut. So really, there's no difference. That's 55 of the 56 million that
So
you
there's
saw.
only 1 million being cut to affordable housing?
Well, there's, no, but that's the
Like,
bulk of-
clarify for me, please,
Councillor
now.
Milchin has the floor. Thank you, Councillor. Thank you very much. Okay. Chief
Of course,
Gatheri? Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.